Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today I'm talking about a 2021 TBR, and that is going to be 21 books in 2021, books that I already own. So 21 books of the 100 that I'm hoping to read in 2021. I'm wanting to be these specific books that I've had forever. I think we all, as bookworms, maybe buy a lot of books and then don't read them immediately, so they just kind of keep stacking up. So this is me trying to get that under control and read some of these books that I have bought either last year or previous years. So I've kind of grouped them into categories, and I'm gonna try to go through this pretty quickly because 21 books is actually a lot. Like, it's a big stack. So yeah, we'll see how quickly I can get through this, but let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna start with the stack that's closest to me, and this will be the adult fantasy books that I'm hoping to read in 2021 this year. First, I have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I know this is like a dark fantasy, and there's an element of a magical school or something like that, and that's really all I know about it, and I think that's all I want to know about it. It is pretty long. This is a book that'll probably take me a while to read. It's over 500 pages, but I am really excited to read this. It is a part of a trilogy, and hopefully I really enjoy it and can continue with the series. The next book I want to talk about is one that I bought at a whim. It is by one of my favorite authors, Juliette Merlier, and that's Dreamer's Pull. This is the first book in the Blackthorn and Grimm series, and I've not read, obviously this is the first book, I haven't read any of this series, but the previous books that I've read by her, I've loved them, so I'm really excited to read this. But I bought it a couple of years ago on a whim because I'm like, I love her books, I should buy more and read more, and I haven't read it yet, so here's hoping I do. The next book is a recommendation from my cousin, and it is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I am really excited to read this. I know it's going to be quite hilarious. It's got a doomsday vibe, angel versus demon, and I think it's going to be really fantastic. And then afterwards, I really would like to watch the TV series adaptation. I know David Tennant is in it, and who's the other one? Michael Sheen, I think. And that's like a great cast already with just the two of them, so I'm really looking forward to reading this and then seeing the series. And then the final book in this category that I'm really excited to read in 2021 and will want probably to read very soon so no one spoils me is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I've talked about this book a couple times on this channel already. I really am a fan of V.E. Schwab's books, the ones that I've read so far, and this story just sounds like something that's right up my alley. I think it's going to make me cry, and I love a book that makes me cry in a good way. This is a book I'm really excited to read, and hopefully I can get to it soon. I do have one children's book on this list for books that I want to read in 2021 that I own, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. It's a book about a graveyard. It's by Neil Gaiman. I know quite a few people who really loved this book, and I'm really interested in reading it, and the only book that I have read by Neil Gaiman is Coraline, which is another children's book, so I have a feeling that I'll also really like this as well. And I just flipped through it and saw that there were illustrations in this book, and I did not know that, so that's really exciting. So I'm even more excited to read this now. Real quick, some nonfiction that I definitely want to read this year. First, I have Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. This is a book that I bought last year, and I started reading it and then reading slump, so definitely want to pick this back up and really get into what Mickey Kendall has to say. I think that I'm really gonna like this book. I think that it's very important as a white person to realize that white feminism is very different and it's not inclusive, so I'm really interested to read this. And then the other nonfiction book I have on my list is kind of like a little, I feel really ashamed for not reading this because a friend gave me like a $5 gift card to Barnes & Noble to put towards this book because I was really excited about it when it came out. and I still haven't read it, so I feel really awful about that. And that's Becoming by Michelle Obama. I really, 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 really want to read this year, and I'm hoping that I can finally get to it. I think I might listen to the audiobook because I heard that it's really good. Maybe. The next books that I have are adult science fiction, and the first one that I want to read in 2021 is The Martian by Andy Weir. I really enjoy the movie adaptation, and I know a lot of people who really like this book, so I think I'm gonna like it too. I really do enjoy science fiction. I don't know how I will feel about kind of, I don't want to call it realistic science fiction, but this is more like realistic than other science fiction, so I don't know how I'll feel about it. We'll see. And then this is going to be really hilarious. So the other book that I have on this list is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I think this was recommended to me because I love Firefly, the TV show. It's my favorite TV show of all time. And this is supposed to have kind of like the same vibe with like a crew on a spaceship that, you know, does things. As you can see, I still have the receipt, so let's see when I bought it. Where's the date? Okay, I bought this book on June 25th, 2019. I bought this book at the end, or in the middle of 2019, and I still haven't read it yet, so shame. Oh, I actually missed one of my adult science fiction books, put it with my adult fantasy book, which I put in a completely messed that up. So anyway, another adult science fiction book I'd like to read is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This was a National Book Award finalist, which is pretty cool. And I know it's got a like an apocalypse type of storyline, and it follows a group of Shakespeare actors. So I know a lot of people really love this book. I'm skeptical. So we'll see. We'll see about that. And then the other book that should have been in my adult fantasy, and I know some people actually call this YA, but at my library, these are in the adult fiction section, okay? So, The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the second book in what is the trilogy is called Winter Night. The first book is The Bear and the Nightingale. The Bear and the Nightingale is one of my all-time favorite books. And I have not completed this series yet because The Bear and the Nightingale was a perfect book to me. Like, it ended perfectly. I love the ending. And then she wrote a second book. So we'll see. I am really afraid that I'm gonna read this and hate it at the same time. I could read it and really love it. So I need to continue. I need to do it. So this is going on my list because when did this even come out? 2018 is when this came out, so I definitely have been putting it off for a very long time because I was just so upset that she wrote a second book, but fingers crossed that it'll be a book that I actually enjoy. So, The Girl in the Tower. Next book I have is the only one in my like YA contemporary category, and that is Loveless by Alice Oseman. I have only read Radio Silence and then the first volume of Heartstopper so far by Alice Oseman. I don't love Radio Silence as much as everyone else does. I read it for my book club in 2019, I think, and it just wasn't something that I really loved, and I also don't remember it very well, so maybe I should reread it eventually. And then Heartstopper, I'm also like, I don't hate Heartstopper, but I also don't feel like it's as great as everyone says. But well, I've only read the first volume, and my issue with it is that there's just not a lot of development in it, and I know it's a graphic novel, but I read a lot of graphic novels, so anyway. So this is a coming of age story. It's about a girl who is discovering her sexuality, and it has ace representation, so asexual representation, which I think will be really exciting. I've only ever read one other book that has asexual representation, and that was Tosh Hart's Tolstoy. Can't think of the author's name. Alexa, who wrote Tosh Hart's Tolstoy?
Here's something I found on the web. According to lcps.org, in Tash Hart's Tolstoy, A realistic fiction novel by Catherine Ormsby. A high school girl.
So, Tash Hearts Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. And I actually really liked that novel. So that's the only other book that I've read with asexual representation. But I know a lot of you booktubers have read this in 2020, and it was life-changing for some people. So I'm really excited to read it. Also, the cover is pink, so love it. My next stack of books is adult fiction, adult mystery, adult fiction. The first book is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. I've actually read this before, but I don't remember it. And this was another book that somebody recommended for me last year, and I want to read it this year. And that's why it's on this list. The next book, I don't know how I feel about this. And it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I've heard a lot of things about this book. It's really interesting because it's like the dark academia, college kids kill their classmate. That's really all I know about it. But I feel like I've heard a lot of people either say that they love it or they think it's pretentious, which completely understand. I wonder what college it's supposed to be. It's a New England college, so let's just assume that she's talking about Harvard or Yale. I can understand why people would think it's pretentious, but we'll see. It's really long though, a lot longer than I expected, and the font is really tiny. So we'll see about that. And then the other two books were some Book of the Month picks that I still haven't read, and one of them I also kind of feel iffy about, and that's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know like there's so many people who are just like, if you loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you're gonna hate this book. But I don't like people telling me what I will and won't like. I'm just kidding. So I am really interested in reading this book. I don't know why I picked this. Do I really have an interest in a band in the 70s that has issues? I'm assuming drug and alcohol related? Not really, but oh. So it's told like in an interview type of format. That's pretty interesting. Okay, that makes me a little more interested. We'll see, we'll see. And then the other Book of the Month pick that I am going to read 100%, I definitely will read this year because my work book club decided to pick this one, I think in March? I don't know. Later in the spring/summer. So it's The Gifted School by Bruce Holsinger. I originally chose this book because it was compared to the Leanne Moriarty book, Big Little Lies. And I really enjoyed Big Little Lies, so we'll see if I enjoy this one as well. If you're wondering when I picked this book, it was the July 2019 pick. It's about drama in a white upper class neighborhood. We'll see how I feel about it. Well, we'll see. So my last stack is the biggest, and it is my YA fantasy. So two of them I want to read because my brother read them this year, and that's a good enough reason for me. And then I've heard a lot of good things about one of them I've heard a lot of bad things about, and the other one I feel like I'm really late to the party and I need to read. So let's get started. The first one is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, and this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling where I know the main character has cerebral palsy. Yes, cerebral palsy, and she lives in Washington DC, and she gets sucked into another world. And then the Beauty and the Beast retelling does its thing. I know a lot of people really love this book. My brother really liked it. I've heard on the Currently Reading podcast that they both really loved this book, and then they had the author be a guest on their podcast. So that was really cool. So I'm really excited to read this book. I do really love retellings. They're probably like my favorite kind of books, like as well as fairy tales. I do think there are like a little too many Beauty and the Beast retellings, but we'll see. The next book I ended up buying because I picked the third book in the series as my Book of the Month pick, which is kind of dumb, but I still want to read it. And it's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So I feel like this is probably going to be kind of like a Cassandra Clare book because, well, first of all, they have collaborated with one another in writing. I know they wrote a book together. I don't remember what it is. Is it the Red Skull? No. Is it the Magnus Bane Chronicles? I don't know. I could be totally wrong at the same time. So anyway, I just feel like this is going to be like a Cassandra Clare novel, and I'm not mad about that because, you know, they're just fun. So I'm really excited to read this. Also, this book is dedicated to Cassandra Clare, who was finally lured into fairyland. So there you go. This is the book that I feel like I totally missed the whole everything about this, and I've been really wanting to read it, and I feel like it's gonna rip me into pieces. And that's Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Illustrations by Jim Kay, which Jim Kay, that sounds familiar. Yes, so this is the same illustrator as the Harry Potter illustrated version, so that's pretty cool. Regardless of what you think about Harry Potter, Jim Kay never, you know, well, I don't know, but he's not involved with the whole J.K. Rowling thing, and I feel like as an illustrator, we should support him, so illustrated by Jim Kay. And yeah, I'm gonna read this year. Another one that I'm also late to the party, but also have been kind of putting off because everyone hates on this series. And I know, like, it's a guilty pleasure for some people. I'm just like, why does it have to be a guilty pleasure? Like, why can't we just like bad books and be okay with it? Anyway, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know that I'll finish this series. I heard that there's a love triangle, and I hate love triangles, so we'll see. Fans of Game of Thrones and The Hunger Games will love it. That is kind of terrifying to me because I don't love The Hunger Games, and I kind of think Game of Thrones is a little bit overrated. So, not a good... It's not a good omen. I'm hilarious, I know. And then the last book is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha... I should have looked this up. Alexa, who is Girls of Paper and Fire by?
Girls of Paper and Fire was written by Natasha Anand and published in 2018. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Thanks for your feedback.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good afternoon.
That's adorable. Anyway, so Natasha Ngan. I still don't feel like I'm getting that right. I know it's a sapphic romance. I know it's fantasy, paper, burning, paper and fire makes sense. That's all I know. That's all I care to know before going into this. So really excited. I'm actually really excited to read this book because I feel like this has not yet been ruined by hype or people being really negative. So I'm really excited to read this book. And those are the books that are on my 2021 list of books that I want to read that I already own. I think I might rearrange something on here so that I can have them like looking me in the eye when I go for another book, you know, so that they can shame me into reading them. We'll see. That's a lot of work and I don't feel like doing it right now, so maybe I'll just leave them in a pile on the floor and then trip over them. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed me being ashamed of not reading these books that I've owned for too long. And yeah, I'm really excited to read these. I'm really excited to start reading anew in 2021, although I'm still reading a book that I started in 2020. So what are you gonna do? You know, you're gonna finish the book. That's what you're gonna do. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in a new video soon.